Hilchas Eidus Perek Chamisha Asar. So here the Rama will discuss the psul of Negeh Be'edus. When the Rama mentioned that there are 10 psuli Eidus, the last of them was a psul of Negeh Be'edus. And here the Rama next to Prakim will discuss the psul of Negeh Be'edus. But Negeh, the gather of the psul of Negeh Be'edus, there's Machlekas, Sayv L'Sheinim, Sayv Nachreinim, but Negeh, what's the gather of psul Negeh Be'edus? Is the pshat is, because he's a chash meshaker, since he's a Negeh Be'edus, so we're concerned that maybe he's lying, or the vart is, because since he's a Negeh Be'edus, so he's saying Eidus about himself, and since he's saying Eidus about himself, so he has the din of a Korev, and Adam Korev it's Latzmi, so male is a psul Eidus of Korev. That's the Shaila. So again, the different Nyanim, but one of the things that Nesivus writes is, L'moshel, if you have a star that someone signed on the star before he became a Negeh Be'edus from the star. Before he became there's a star signed, let's say, on Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Now, Rosh Chodesh Nisan, this person was in a position to be a Negeh Be'edus. On Rosh Chodesh Iyar, he becomes a Negeh Be'edus of what's happening in the star. Now, the question is, we learned that if a person signed on the star before he became a Karev, and then later he became a Karev, it's not a problem. Because the pale, there's no Kshash. There's a Karev, it's not a Kshash Meshaker. A Karev is a Psul. So Memela, since when he signed on the star, he wasn't a Karev, the fact that now he's a Karev, if he signed on the star, actually Nasa Chasone, and now he's Chasone, so Lepel, if the star will be Niskayim from other Edom, he can't be Makayim the star, because he's a Karev. But if the star will be Niskayim from other Edom, it won't be a problem. By Medvar Mamur, we're talking about a Psul of a Karev. By Shein, we're talking about a Psul of a Rashi, became a Gazlan. So a Gazlan is a Chash that he's a Meshaker. So Memela, we're concerned that maybe Taka, the star says that it was done on Rosh Chodesh Nisan. But could be on Rosh Chodesh Iyar, after he became a Rasha, he wrote the star, and that star, he wrote it on an earlier date. So unless we know that this star was written earlier, and it was written before he became a Rasha, like we learned before, so then the star is possible. Now that is what would be in a case where a star was signed by someone that at that point in time, Rosh Chodesh Nisan, he wasn't in the Negeh Be'edus, and now in Rosh Chodesh Iyar, he's in the Negeh Be'edus. So if the fact that he's in the Negeh Be'edus makes him into a Chash Meshaker, so we're concerned that maybe he wrote a star with an earlier date. Masha'inkin, if the fact that he's in the Negeh Be'edus doesn't make him into a Chash Meshaker, it's only that he's a Karev, and Adam Karev, it's a Latzmei, so then Lepel, since at this point in time, Rosh Chodesh Nisan, he wasn't a Karev, so even though now he is a Karev, but as we learned, the fact that he's now a Karev doesn't invalidate him as being an Eid on a star, which was signed earlier. And there's other nafkaminas as well. But I'll quote upon in Lashon Rambam, it seems to be Meduik, that the issue is because he's being made la'asmi. It's more so a psul karev, or at least it's also a psul karev. Perek Chamishas. Kol Eidus, shetovi la'odam hanoya mimenu. Eidus which a person has a noah from this Eidus, eini meyed ba. Shezeh kemeyed la'asmi. Because this is like saying Eidus about himself, something for himself, and there's a psul of saying Eidus for himself. And the pashtus is because Adam karev etz la'asmi. Lefichach. Bnei Ho'ir, shebo ma'arer la'arer aleim b'merchetz b'rechev shalir, something that the ear, the Bnei Ho'ir own together, either the merchetz of the ear or the rechev shalir, and someone's timing that it doesn't belong to them. So the din is, ein echad b'nei Ho'ir meid b'davar zeh, no one of the Bnei Ho'ir could be done on this Inyan, v'lei don bayo, to be a dayan on this case, ela chi yisalik atzmi mimenu b'kinyan. If he's Misalik Atzmi, he says he has no bailus. This merchetz, even though it's owned by the entire Bnei Ho'ir, but he is no longer a bailam on this merchetz. And al derech of this rechava, this rechev shalir. So mele v'acharkach yod neyoid. So then he can say this because right now he's no longer a negeh b'davar. Since right now he's no longer a negeh b'davar, so therefore he could say this. But there's a shaila we learned before that if something is tchilasi b'paslus, v'sefer b'kashrus, he can't say this. So look, originally, when the Dion started, he wasn't a Gebedover. He wasn't a Gebedover. And Pel right now, he's not in the Gebedover. So L'chura, he's saying Eidus about something which originally he wasn't a Gebedover, now he's not in a Gebedover. So L'chura, why shouldn't it be a chsorin of Tchilasi B'Pastus, the Sefer B'Kashus? Just like when we say that if he found out about something, actually Nasa Chasane, V'Nasa Chasane, so he can't say Eidus except for certain things. But the Pashtus, he can't say Eidus about something that he knew before. And over here we're saying that when he knew, he's saying Eidus about something which he knew while he was in the Negeh Eidus, and now he's not in the Negeh Eidus, could say Eidus. So then they bring the teretz, because when a person says Eidus about himself, it's not pshat. There's a din, a person's a karev, so a karev is a psul Eidus. In other words, he's not the same person, he's a Karev, there's a Psul Eidus. And then there's a din, Kol Shetchilasi Bekashrus, the Sefer Bepaslus, or Sefer Chilasi Bepaslus, the Sefer Bekashrus is a Psul. But when a person says Eidus about himself, it's not a Psul Eidus. About himself, he Bechal is not an Eid. It's more than just a Psul Karev. About himself, he can't say Eidus because he's not an Eid about himself. So Mela, since originally he was an Eger B'Dover, Snapshot, he was an Eid that was Posel. He was Bechal not an Eid. And now, since he's not an Eger B'Dover, so then he is Eid. That's the teres that's brought down in Achreinim, and it's brought down B'Shem Deri Magash. The Deri Magash says this in Baba Basra, that would be the beer. That if originally he was an Eger B'Dover, now he's not an Eger B'Dover, so originally he Bechal didn't have a din of an Eid. And now he has a din of an Eid, so it doesn't go into the gather of Tchilasi Bepaslos, B'Seifei B'Kashrus. Halacha Beis. B'nei Ho'ir Shenigna Sefer Teira Shalem. So l'chura, we said before that there's a dion whether or not a person can be masalik himself and say, I'm not going to own this merchatz anymore. I'm not going to own this ruchev anymore. But a Sefer Teira, a person can be masalik himself in the Sefer Teira because everyone needs to hear the Sefer Teira, Kriyas HaTeira. So therefore, it won't help the fact that he's masalik himself to become uisnageil. B'nei Ho'ir Shenigna Sefer Teira Shalem is Heilo L'Shmiya Hu Asi. Sefer Teira is Asi L'Shmiya. She'ev Shalad L'Salik Hasmi Mimana, because everybody has to hear Kriyas HaTeira. So therefore, Ein Donin B'Dayon Esioir. So the Dayon Esioir can be done. Ve'mevin Raya Manche Esioir. They can be Eidus on it. V'chen Kol Ki Eitz B'Zeh. And over here, there's no Eitza of being Masalik Hasmi Mizah. Halacha Gimel. Ha'emer Tnu Mona Laniya Irei. Someone said Tnu Mona Laniya Irei. Now there's a din Teira if he's mechuyev the money or he's not mechuyev the money. So there's the people of the city, and there's the Aniyeh Ho'ir, and there was someone that said Tnu Mana L'Aniyeh Iri, and the question is if he's mechuyev in that because of what he said or not. So the din is Ein Donin B'Dayoni Esi Ho'ir. The Dayoni Esi Ho'ir can be involved in a din Teira about this person, whether he owes the money to the Anshe Ho'ir, and also they Mivin Raya Me'Anshe Esi Ho'ir, the people of the city can't say Eidus, because Lepeil, it's them Negeya that he should give the money to the Aniyeh Ho'ir. But Medvar Mamurim, we're talking about Shehoyu Anim Smuch Maleim. They would depend on the people of the year who pays them tzedakah b'chol shana, and it was regular that these people should get tzedakah b'chol shana from the Anshe year. So therefore, it's negate to all the Anshe year whether or not this person actually gave the money. So maybe they'll be able to be relieved from certain chiyuvim of tzedakah. Afilu amr shnayim Anshe year. Even in a case where they say anu nitin davar hakosav aleinu, we'll anyways give what we're supposed to give. And v'noid l'peil let us say this, the fact whether or not he is mechuyev to the ansher or not mechuyev to the ansher won't in any way change how much money we're going to give for tzedakah. Is nevertheless v'noid ein shem lehem. Why? Shahanoyu lehem. She is ashru aniyim elu. Hailvim smucham b'nei v'chein kol kiyes. There's some type of hano that these aniyim should become ashirim, and memela they won't be so dependent on them, and they'll be able to do things for other aniyim. Al kol panim, there's a hano for the people of the city, that the people of the ear will be his ashru, and therefore he can't say Eidus about this chiyuv, whether or not this person is yemechuyev the tzedakah, not mechuyev the tzedakah. Remember, there's another deal in Benegel. All the cases that we speak about over here, but Pashtus is talking about cases where there's some monetary gain, you're gaining something with money. Question is, if you're gaining something which has nothing to do with money, does that also go into the psul of Negeh Be'edus? That's also Negeh, a dion, a big deal in the Mefarshim, whether or not what's the madrega of gain that you have to have in order to be apostle Eidus. So over here we're saying that over here we're talking about these people are saying they're going to give the amount of money anyways, but on the other end there's a certain gain for them that these Aniyah should become Ashirim, and therefore that makes them to become apostle Eidus because that's considered a Gebedover. Halacha Dalet Karka shebein shnei shutfim shebo ma'arer leitzir metachas yad hashufif. The chud of the pshat is we're talking about a karka that's owned by two people, and right now it's biyad echot, one person's holding on to it, and now this ma'ar is coming, wants to take it out of the yad hashutif. Really it belongs to Reuven and Shimon. Reuven is officially right now Reuven and Shimon are shutfim in this karka. The karka bepeil finds itself biyad Reuven. Reuven is sitting there in that karka, and now Levi is coming to take away this karka. So now Shimon wants to say this and say, no, the karka belongs to Reuven. I mean, it really belongs to him as well. But basically he's saying it belongs to Reuven. So obviously he can't say Eidus that it belongs to him, because Lepel is Mamash and Eidus, he's talking about himself. So over here he's saying it belongs to Reuven. Lechuri, he's a shutif. So by saying it belongs to Reuven, he's really saying it belongs to Reuven and Shimon. So he says, no, I'm being misalik myself from the karka. I'm saying the whole karka now belongs to Reuven. As far as I'm concerned, the whole karka belongs to Reuven. And Memela, I have no hana by the fact that this karka is going to remain by Reuven. You do have hana because lepel, if you owe someone money, so that person is going to be able to take from this karka, which is meshubit to your balchev, So on that you're saying no, that if someone's going to go away and take the karka from Reuven because of my shibud, I will give Reuven the money that he lost. I will reimburse Reuven for the money that he lost. I have no gain at this point in time by the fact that this karka is by Reuven. I'm being misalik myself from the karka. I'm taking achrayas. If the karka goes away from Reuven, it should remain Reuven's. I have no gain. Since I have no gain, so I can say Eidus. That's this din. Karka shebein shnei shutim. Two people own a karka together. Shebo ma'ara lo hitziyah metachas yad hashutiv. It means to say that the pill right now is presently biyad hashutiv, and the ma'ara wants to take it out of biyad hashutiv. Is einim meid l'shutfi Allah. So the other shutiv, the one that's not in the karka, but lepel belongs to both of them, can be made. Elim king silak atzmi mimenu. He completely was misalik himself from this karka, that he has no shaykhs to this karka. And v'konim miyodin, there was a ma'aser kinyan shenosnu l'shutfi, that he gave it away to the shutiv. And also, v'im shimbo bal chayv shalei v'torfa miyad hashutiv is mishalom lidamel, because lepil, he has a gain. The gain is, because if this other person is to take away the karka, it means it was never theirs, so therefore his bal chayv can't take this karka, because lepil, it was never his. Mashenkin, now that it's remaining Reuven's, and lepil, it was once his as well, so it's going to come out that his bal chayv is going to be able to take from this karka. So that you're saying, no, that's also not going to be a gain. Because if my bal chayv is going to take it from Reuven, I will reimburse him. That's what he's saying. First of all, he was misalik atzmi meno, and v'konim miyod shenosnu l'shutfei, and also v'shimbo bal chayv shalei. If his bal chayv is going to come v'torf from miyad hashutiv, and he's going to take it from the other shutiv, is mishalom l'idameh, he'll reimburse him. And if he does that, Yisai was misalik atzmi, and Yisai took achrayas that if something will happen, he'll give the person the money. So then his maid then he can say Eidus. V'chein kol ki yitzvah. Halacha hey, ha'oyer al asada. There's someone has a field. Now you have Reuven has a field, and he hired Shimon as an oris, as sharecropper. Now Shimon gets a certain percentage of the field, of the produce of the field. Now comes Levi, and Levi Tainas, the field is his. Now Shimon, which is the sharecropper, he's not the owner, he's the sharecropper. If he's going to say Eidus about this field, so it's negate him, because if Reuven owns the field, so then he's entitled to his portion as a sharecropper. And if Levi takes the field, so B'kitzur, he wasn't a sharecropper, so he was a Yedid L'Seif Tzaddik Chaver as a separate din. But over here, if Reuven, the original person that he thought was the owner, keeps the field, so Mamela, he's entitled to his deal as an oris. So Mamela, if this Paris, and it's negate to the oris to have that, he should get the Paris, so Mamela, he can't say it, that's his din. Halachei, ha'oyer al asada, someone is being worried that the sod is his. Is in Yeshba Paris, if this Paris right now in the field, is Ein Ha'aris made allowed. The Aris of the person that was sitting in the field can be made. Why? Shari Reitz Ha'aris. La'amida biyad bala. He wants it to remain biyad bala, which means the person that was bepashas the bailam before the ma'ar, the person that hired him as a Aris, Kadeshi itul chelke beperis, in order for him to get his chelke beperis. However, if there's no Paris in the field anyways, it's just that he was hired as an Aris. But Lepel right now there's no Paris, so it's not really negate to him. So then is Imemba Paris is then he's made. That's talking about Benegea Oris. Aval a seicher, someone that rented a field from someone or a house from someone, and now there's an issue who the house belongs to. Is Azoy. In Lokach Haskiris Biyadi, in other words, if he didn't yet pay his rental. And Va'amar he says, Kol Mishatzkayim Sada Zubiyadi. Whoever will become the rightful owner of this field is Yitel. He should go ahead and take this schiras. In other words, I'm living in this field. I didn't yet pay schiras. I owe this schiras to the person that owns the field. Whoever will be the outcome of this din Torah, he'll get the schiras. So Mamela, since it's irrelevant to him who's going to be the outcome because he didn't pay his schiras yet, so therefore he's made. However, if he already paid the balasoda, in other words, the person that presented himself as being the balasoda, he already paid him his schiras, and he made. If this Ma'ara will go ahead and take the field away from the original person that rented him the field is the he's going to have to pay the rental for all the time he was there. He was sitting in a field that he thought someone was renting it to him, and he was paying that person rent. In reality, now it was Nizbar, that it wasn't his, and now he has to pay rent to the rightful owner. So he's in his negea that the person that he paid the rent to should come out to be the rightful owner. So therefore, and he made the law. Therefore, he can't say Eidus. V'chein kol ki etzebaz. Halacha Vav, Shimon Shalava, Shimon borrowed money. V'hoya Reuven Arav, and Reuven was the guarantor of the money that Shimon borrowed. Now Shimon also owned the field. Shimon borrowed money, he owned the field, and Reuven was the guarantor of Shimon's loan. Now Boy Yehuda Lahar al Shimon Aleva, Lahetzi Karkim B'tachas Yodi. Now the Yehuda is timing that Shimon, the money that Shimon owes, the field that Shimon seems to be sitting on is not really his field. Is not really his field. Now the question is, could Reuven be made for Shimon that the field is Shimon's? L'mainav committed to Reuven. Now Reuven is a guarantor. So Memela, if Shimon is going to lose his field, so possibly that Shimon won't have money to pay up the loan. So Memela is going to come out. The Arav is going to have to pay the loan. So for Reuven, it's in Reuven's interest, which is the Arav, that Shimon should remain with the field and not Yehuda take away the field, in order for him not to have to pay up the loan. But Medvar Mamurim, that it's in Reuven's interest for Shimon to stay with his field if that's his only field. But if Shimon has other fields which could also pay for that loan, so Mela makes no difference really to Reuven whether Shimon stays with that field, because Shimon has anyways other fields, even if they take away this field from Shimon, but Shimon has other fields. And therefore, for Reuven, it's not really Negea, therefore he could say Eidus. That's his din. Shimon borrowed money, V'hoya Reuven Arav, and Reuven was the guarantor. When Rabbi Yehuda lahar al Shimon aleva, he's coming to be ma'arer elahoitzi karka matachas yodi. So it depends. Im yesh Shimon soda cheres keneged achev. If Shimon has another field keneged achev, another is b'mei lahari Reuven ha'arav yesh lehoid alisa karka shishel Shimon. So between this dintera, between Yehuda and Shimon, so Reuven could say Eidus. Why kishaili b'zeh hanoya? He doesn't have any hanoah from the fact that Shimon will remain with the field, because Shem Lokha Yehuda, even if Yehuda takes away the field, is Arisod Acher. There's another field, Sheyifrim Imanu Balchev, which Balchev could take his money. So Mela for Reuven, which is the Arav, is not a ger really between this Dintera, between Shimon and Yehuda, because either way Shimon has another field. So therefore Reuven is able to say Eidus on behalf of Shimon against Yehuda. V'chein, the same idea as I say by Alikeh Krish, the same din. Whereas the din is when a person buys a field, so really so he's giving money to the seller. So if Lepel, this buyer, will end up not having, someone's going to take away the field from the buyer, so then he's going to go and back to the seller and take the money. That's the achrayus for the field that he lost. Now what happens if the seller has no money? So now he goes to the fields that the seller had. If the seller sold fields, he could go to the field that the seller sold. So if, let's say, we have Reuven sold the field to Shimon. So now Shimon gave Reuven money, and Lepel, this field was taken away from Shimon. Now Reuven, after he sold the field to Shimon, sold the field to Levi. He sold the field to Levi. So now it's neged. So Shimon, if Shimon's field will be taken away from him, and Reuven won't have any money, so then he'll be able to go to Levi and take the field from Levi. If Reuven doesn't have any other fields, Reuven sold the field to Shimon, and Lepel, Reuven also sold the field to Levi. Now Shimon borrowed, it's Ki'ilu, Reuven owes Shimon in case they take away from the field from Shimon, and Shimon's guarantee is going to be the field that Levi bought from him. So now if there's a dion whether or not Levi's field taka belonged to Reuven, so it depends. If Reuven has other fields, so it's not really negate to Shimon whether or not Levi really bought from Reuven the field, if that field really belonged to Reuven. Because even if that field doesn't belong to Reuven, anyways, Shimon will be able to get, if they take away his field, he'll be able to get the money from the other fields of Levi. Mashenkin, if that's the only field that Reuven had, so Reuven had two fields. He had a field that he sold to Shimon, and then he had another field that he sold to Levi. And now someone wants to take away that field that Reuven sold to Levi. So for Shimon, it's very important that there should be that field should remain by Levi, and it should be considered a field that he bought from Reuven, because that's his guarantee that in case they take away the field from him, he'll be able to go to Levi and take that field. That's this din. V'chein, Lekeach Rishon, the first buyer, is made Lekeach Sheni to the second buyer, Shalokach Achrin, which bought after him, Shazu Asada Shalei, which that sada is his. Why? V'hu, That's only on the condition sheyesh lemecher sada bascherin kneged demei sada zushel lekech. If there's another field that the seller has, which could really compensate in case Shimon loses his field, he's going to be able to go to the seller and get from his other field. So then there's no problem. It's not negate to Shimon whether or not Levi is going to have that field in the case that we spoke about. V'hu sheyesh lemoicher soda bascherin kineged dmei soda zushel lekech harishon. Because there's nothing, he's not gaining anything by the fact that the lekech sheni is keeping the money. Shafilu nitraf lekech harishon, even if they're going to take away the field from the lekech harishon, and now he's going to try to look for money in order to get paid, to be reimbursed for that money that he gave to the mecher. Is ala mecher uchezi, he could go to the mecher. He has another field to be geisa, and if he'll go ahead and sell it, he'll be able to be geiva from that as well. So he wants to have at least that there should be one field. Those ultimate yikataina, maybe they'll start proving that all these fields aren't his. So Mela, at least every field is neged, that he should have more fields, but that's not considered a neged b'dover. In other words, he bought a field from the seller, and he wants that there should be at least a guarantee from one field that in case there's a problem with that field that he bought, he should be able to go and get from that field. So if there's only one more field that he could get from, in other words, there's only this field that he sold to the second buyer, and now there's an issue whether that field was taka the sellers, so therefore the first buyer is interested in establishing that the second field was the second buyer did buy a field that really belonged to the seller. Mashaken, if there were other fields involved, so it's not really negea whether the second buyer actually bought a field that would really belong to the seller, and therefore he could go ahead and say Eidus and say that no, that the field actually belonged to the seller.